Welcome to my next ChannelSide chat, this time centered around one card, Upstart Goblin. At its core, this normal spell has a very simple effect. You draw one card, and your opponent gains 1000 life points. Over the course of this video, I hope to answer 4 questions. Why is Upstart good? Why is this true even over 40 cards? What is the difference between running a 40 card and a 60 card deck? And lastly, when is this card not good? I've broken down this video into pieces based off that, so feel free to use the chapters below to navigate. Let's start with a question that most of you already know the answer to. Why Upstart is a good card? You probably have heard the traditional explanation saying that Upstart lets you run a deck with 39 cards, but let me reframe that for you right away. The better way to think about this is that you can delay your draw for the turn until you're ready to take it. Either way you slice it or define it, Upstart thins your deck, it trades itself for a new card, only at the slim cost of giving your opponent a bit of extra life points. At the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear why this card is good. Now for the controversial question. Why is Upstart still good even if you have over 40 cards? I'm going to answer this question a few ways, so hopefully one of the answers resonates with you. First, the modern game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a ton of searching and combos that originate from either one card or one summon. Let's be honest with ourselves, this really wasn't the case historically. Even in some of the most powerful formats of the past, combos used to require multiple cards. Heck, you can even FTK now off of a single summon of Sublimation Knight and no other cards in hand. Now just about every theme has an equivalent of Reinforcement of the Army or some card that tutors other members of the theme or archetype. In some cases, I'll call out Splite for example, you have multiple. Either way, most themes can significantly thin their deck on turn 1, getting your overall deck size down about 5 to 10 cards on average. So if you delay that 5th draw with an Upstart Goblin until the end of your combos, you're allowing yourself to pull from a smaller deck, and therefore you will have a greater chance of drawing a card that matters when you do take your draw for the turn. This also applies in the case when you're running multiple engine requirements, colloquially referred to as garnets by the Yu-Gi-Oh community. These are cards that you do not want to draw. Instead, you want them in your deck to be used as material or to be summoned directly from the deck later in the turn. Think Red Eyes Fusion, Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Black Dragon as an example. You don't want to draw either normal monster before you resolve that Red Eyes Fusion. By delaying your 5th draw with an Upstart Goblin, you minimize the chance of drawing one of those engine requirements in your opening hand, regardless of the size of your deck. So let's put some numbers on this. If you're running a 44 card deck already, with 2 of those being engine requirements, you have a 21.67% chance of opening one or both of those cards in your 5 card hand. If you increase your deck size to 45 cards by adding an Upstart Goblin, you shave off 0.5% from that, giving you a 21.21% chance of drawing one of them in your opening hand. Sure, you only have an 11.11% chance of opening Upstart Goblin anyways, but even when you don't, it is still helping you by reducing your percentage of drawing an engine requirement. Let's shift gears a bit by discussing the third question. What does it mean to run a 40 card deck versus a 60 card deck? A 60 card deck obviously reduces the consistency of seeing any individual card, but overall it increases the options available to you in your main deck. In a way, for a 40 card deck, you're just choosing to run 20 Upstart Goblins without that life point game or spell activation in order to increase the consistency of seeing all other cards in your deck equally. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not running that additional card will help you win more games than one more copy of this invisible Upstart Goblin. Remember, with more and more decks running engine requirements that they don't want to draw, such as Fateful Adventure as part of the Adventurer package, the lower chance you have to open it will directly correlate to higher chances of victory, especially in the TCG format of hosting huge events. This tees up the final question. When is Upstart not good? There are a few scenarios where it isn't. First and foremost is when your deck's win condition is to OTK with less than 9,000 points of damage. If you cannot OTK when your opponent gets boosted 9,000 life points by Upstart Goblin, running Upstart is never a good idea, regardless of deck size. Second, you need to be careful about running Upstart with other cards that prevent you from drawing during the turn, such as Pot of Extravagance or Pot of Prosperity. Delaying a draw when you cannot draw later in the turn may conflict with each other, so you should keep that in mind when deck building. Third and finally, you should not run Upstart if the local or the tournament that you're about to play in is going to have a prevalence of Spell Canceller, Naturia Beast, or Droll Knockbird. This is entirely a meta call, but like scenario 2, if you can't use Upstart to take your draw later in the turn, it just isn't worth the deck space to run in the first place. At all other times, Upstart Goblin is worth playing, regardless of deck size. And that's today's video. If you disagree with my assessment or any of the points I made earlier, please feel free to respond in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer you and address your concerns. Either way, thanks for listening and hope you came away from this chat learning something new. And maybe, just maybe, this will get people to finally stop commenting why Upstart over 40 on my videos so much.